Have you ever poured your whole soul into a silent sky, only to spend countless days waiting for a sign from the unseen that never seemed to appear? There are long, exhausting seasons in life when our search for truth feels like an endless climb toward a barren summit with no end in sight. The air grows thinner with every step. Each breath becomes heavier than the last, and the profound silence of the universe no longer brings peace. Instead, it slowly begins to feel like complete abandonment. We often search for the sacred in magnificent temples, in perfect stillness, or within a life that appears flawless and untouched. We wait for a divine encounter to arrive exactly as we imagine it, beautiful, radiant, and transcendent. And in doing so, we quietly close our hearts to the chaos, the cracks, and the imperfect beauty of ordinary life. But what if the awakening we've longed for was never waiting at the summit of perfection? What if the truth we've spent our lives searching for has been quietly waiting in the very places we instinctively turn away from, in brokenness, in wounded hearts, and in the darkest corners of the human experience? Today, let us journey with the serene spring into the mist-covered mountains of ancient Asia, following the footsteps of a devoted seeker who spent 12 long years in search of enlightenment. Yet what he sought was never waiting on the mountain's peak. It revealed itself in the most humble and heartbreaking face of human suffering. Centuries ago, there lived a devoted monk known as Asanga, revered for his extraordinary wisdom. He had mastered the profound teachings of his time. Yet deep within his heart, he knew that knowledge alone could never satisfy the longing that called to him. He came to see that even the most sacred scriptures were only maps. They could point the way, but they could never become the destination itself. He no longer sought more teachings. What he longed for was a living encounter with Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha of boundless compassion, whose awakening would illuminate the future of all beings. The monk believed that if he could gaze into the eyes of Maitreya Buddha just once, the final veil of illusion would dissolve, and the true nature of reality would finally reveal itself. Driven by that single, unwavering longing, the monk Asanga left behind the bustling monasteries and climbed into the remote, unforgiving heights of Mount Kukutapada. The mountain rose like a vast fortress of weathered stone. Jagged cliffs pierced the sky, while ancient ice clung to its highest ridges through every season. High upon those lonely slopes, he found a small cave hidden among the rocks. It offered no comfort, only damp earth beneath him, cold stone at his back, and the boundless silence of the open sky stretching beyond its entrance. There, the monk folded his legs into meditation, closed his eyes, and began the practice that he believed would lead him to Maitreya Buddha. Day after day, the monk devoted every ounce of his concentration to contemplating the radiant presence of Maitreya Buddha. Week after week, he anchored his mind to the quiet rhythm of his breath, refusing to move even as the mountain winters froze tiny beads of frost upon his eyelashes. 3 long years passed in absolute solitude. 3 years of waking each morning to the same gray stone walls, living on little more than wild roots, and breathing the thin, icy air of the mountain. Yet despite his unwavering discipline, nothing happened. No vision arose before him. No sacred dream broke the immense silence of the nights. The sky remained empty. The cave remained dark. At last, exhaustion found its way into the monk's heart. A heavy cloud of despair settled over him. Convinced that he simply lacked the spiritual capacity to attain such a realization, he gathered his few belongings and began the long journey down the mountain. Each step felt unfamiliar after years of stillness. His legs trembled as he followed the winding stone path toward a small village nestled below. There, by the roadside, he noticed an elderly man steadily rubbing a thick iron bar against an ordinary stone. The old man was slowly and carefully rubbing the thick iron bar against an ordinary stone. Every movement was steady and unhurried, as though he had all the time in the world. The monk Asanga stopped in his tracks, unable to hide his astonishment. "Elder," he asked, "what are you doing?" The old man never looked up. A gentle smile rested on his face as he continued his slow, rhythmic strokes. "I'm making a needle," he replied calmly. "My family needs one to mend our clothes. I will keep grinding this iron bar until it becomes thin enough to pass through cloth." The monk Asanga stood motionless. His eyes moved from the thick iron bar to the ordinary stone, and finally to the weathered face of the old man, whose quiet determination never wavered. A deep sense of shame rose within him. This old man possesses the patience to turn a bar of iron into a single needle. He thought, "Yet I who seek liberation beyond this lifetime am ready to abandon my path after only 3 years because it feels too difficult." With his resolve renewed, the monk Asanga turned back and climbed the steep, unforgiving mountain once more, returning to the solitude of his cave. He sat down once again. His practice became deeper, his concentration steadier, refined day after day like a blade patiently honed upon a stone. Breath after breath, he rested his awareness in the quiet rhythm of life itself. Another 3 years passed in complete isolation. 6 years had now gone by. Yet the silence remained unbroken. No matter how deeply he practiced, nothing changed. The monk's heart slowly became a place of quiet disappointment. The wonder that had once carried him into the mountains had faded away, leaving only the cold reality of a silent stone wall before him. Once again, the weight of what he believed to be failure broke his resolve. Convinced that his years of meditation had led nowhere, the monk Asanga left the cave for the second time. As the monk Asanga made his way down the mountain once again, his heart heavy with quiet defeat, something beside the path caught his attention. A thin stream of water was falling, one drop at a time, onto the surface of a great stone. It was not a roaring river. It was only a slow, patient rhythm. One drop, then another, and another. Yet when the monk looked more closely, he saw that the ancient rock had been worn away. The gentle water had slowly carved a hollow into solid stone, not through force, but through unwavering persistence. The monk Asanga rested his forehead against the cold stone, and tears quietly filled his eyes. The falling water had revealed the very same truth the old man had tried to show him. The path had never failed him. It was his own impatient heart that had turned away too soon. For the second time, he turned back toward the mountain. His bare feet met every sharp stone along the path. Yet he climbed on in silence, returning once more to the solitude of his cave. Another 3 years slipped quietly into the past. 9 years had now gone by. 9 years of breathing the cold, silent air of the cave, watching his youth slowly fade, feeling his body grow weaker with each passing season. Yet Maitreya Buddha still did not appear. There was no radiant vision, no word of comfort, no moment of awakening to break the endless silence. For the third time, despair crushed what remained of his resolve, and once again, the monk Asanga walked away. Yet as he descended the mountain once more, the monk Asanga came upon another extraordinary sight. An old man was gently sweeping the face of a towering cliff with nothing more than a large feather brush. When the monk asked what he was doing, the old man smiled and replied, "This cliff blocks the morning sunlight from reaching my valley. So, little by little, I shall brush this mountain away until the light can pass through." Once again, the monk bowed his head before the unimaginable perseverance of an ordinary person. Without another word, he turned around and climbed back toward his cave. 3 more years passed in silent practice. 12 years had now gone by. 12 years had been swallowed by the silence of Mount Kukudapada. His hair had grown long and streaked with gray. His robe had worn into little more than tattered cloth. Every breath carried the ache of an aging body. Yet inwardly, he felt no closer to Maitreya Buddha than on the day he had first entered the mountain. Then a painful realization swept over him with the force of an avalanche. I have wasted my life. No matter how earnestly I have searched, Maitreya Buddha will never appear to me. This time, there was no anger, no dramatic despair, only an immense emptiness. He did not simply leave the cave, he left it without any thought of returning. The seeker within him had finally fallen silent. He was now only an old monk, walking without direction toward an unfamiliar valley, carrying nothing except the quiet weight of a hope he believed had come to its end. The monk Asanga eventually reached the outskirts of a bustling market town at the foot of the mountain. The air was thick with the scent of wood smoke, damp earth, and countless human lives, a startling contrast to the vast, untouched silence that had filled his cave for 12 long years. As he approached the weathered stone gate, something stopped him in his tracks. It was a low, broken whimper, a sound of raw suffering that rose above the ordinary noise of the marketplace and reached straight into his heart. The monk followed the sound until it led him to a refuse heap beside the road. There, half sunken in mud, lay a stray dog. Asanga had encountered countless wild animals throughout his life, but nothing had prepared him for this sight. The creature was wasting away before his eyes, its body ravaged by disease and neglect. Its hind legs no longer worked, dragging helplessly through the mud. Its skin was covered with open sores, and every movement seemed to bring fresh pain. But the most heartbreaking sight lay in a deep wound across the dog's abdomen. Inside it, countless tiny maggots writhed, feeding upon the flesh of a creature that was still alive. The animal was trapped in a cruel paradox. The very creatures consuming its body were also cleaning away the dead tissue, keeping it alive a little longer. It was dying from unbearable suffering, yet every instinct compelled it to defend itself. Whenever anyone came near, it growled weakly, bared its yellowed teeth, and snapped at the empty air. Its bloodshot eyes held a painful mixture of terror, agony, and desperate fear. The townspeople passed by without stopping. Some tossed small stones to drive the dog away. Others covered their noses, muttered in disgust at the foul smell, and hurried on, unwilling to look any longer. The monk Asanga did not move. He stood in silence, gazing down at the suffering creature lying helplessly in the mud. And in that very moment, something profound shifted within the monk Asanga. 12 years of studying sacred teachings, 12 years of disciplined meditation, and even his longing to behold Maitreya Buddha, all of it quietly fell away. The walls of self, patiently built through years of learning, striving, and subtle spiritual pride, dissolved in an instant. He no longer saw a filthy dog. He no longer saw a creature to be feared or avoided. He saw suffering, pure, undeniable suffering, and in that suffering, he recognized his own. For the first time, the boundary between himself and another living being simply disappeared. A boundless wave of compassion rose within the monk Asanga, unlike anything he had ever known. It swept away every trace of self-concern. His heart broke open, not for the 12 years he believed he had lost, but for this single suffering creature lying before him. In that moment, only one thought remained. He had to help. If nothing was done, the dog would soon perish in unbearable pain. But as the monk looked more closely, another heartbreaking dilemma revealed itself. The tiny maggots were fragile beyond measure. If he removed them with his rough, calloused fingers, he would surely crush the tiny creatures to death. Yet if he used a stick or the blade of a knife, he would pierce the dog's raw flesh, causing even greater suffering. For the first time, the monk found himself unable to choose between two lives that both deserved compassion. Only one way remained. To an ordinary mind, the thought itself would have been unbearable, yet compassion did not hesitate. If he wished to spare both the dying dog and the tiny creatures feeding within its wound, there was only one instrument gentle enough to do no harm. He would use his own tongue, lifting the maggots one by one without crushing them and without causing the dog any further pain. So the monk carefully placed a clean leaf upon the ground beside him. Then, seeing that the maggots would need food once they were removed, He quietly cut a small piece of flesh from his own thigh and laid it upon the leaf. Nothing in his heart asked whether the sacrifice was too great. Compassion no longer measured cost. The monk Asanga knelt in the cold mud beside the suffering animal. Its trembling jaws were still ready to bite, driven by fear more than anger. The sharp odor of decay filled the air, yet nothing could shake the stillness of his heart. Slowly, he leaned closer and closer, until only a few inches remained between his face and the wounded flesh. Then he gently closed his eyes. In that moment, he moved beyond revulsion, beyond the instinct to protect himself, beyond every boundary that had ever separated himself from another living being. The monk extended his tongue and slowly lowered his face toward the wound. But instead of touching the dog's flesh, he felt the cool hardness of stone beneath him. His eyes flew open. Everything had fallen silent. The foul odor that had filled the air only a heartbeat before had vanished completely. In its place drifted the delicate fragrance of sandalwood, pure and otherworldly, as though the very air had become infused with a presence beyond this world. The monk Asanga opened his eyes. The refuse heap was gone. The mud had vanished. The dying dog was nowhere to be seen. Standing before him, suspended ever so slightly above the earth, was a presence of indescribable majesty, radiant, serene, and boundless in compassion. It was Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha of boundless compassion, stood before him, bathed in a soft golden radiance. Its gentle light seemed to embrace everything it touched, until even the dusty village road appeared quiet, luminous, and filled with an indescribable peace. His eyes held an infinite tenderness that no words could contain. As they rested upon the mud-covered monk, they carried neither praise nor judgment, only a love so complete that every burden the monk had carried for 12 long years quietly dissolved within its gaze. The monk Asanga fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his weathered face as 12 years of longing, devotion, and silent endurance finally found their voice. Maitreya Buddha, he whispered, his hands trembling as they came together in reverence. Why? Why did you remain hidden from me for 12 long years? I called your name through freezing winters and burning summers. I waited in that lonely cave until the last ember of hope within me had faded. Why did you reveal yourself only after I had surrendered everything? Maitreya Buddha looked upon the monk with infinite tenderness. His voice did not echo through the air. It arose quietly within the deepest silence of Asanga's own heart, gentle as a mother's lullaby. My beloved child, Maitreya Buddha said softly, I have never left you. From the very first day you sat down in that mountain cave, I was there beside you. When the winter winds cut through the stone, I was holding you. When you wept alone in the darkness, my heart wept with you. He paused. But you could not yet see me. Maitreya Buddha bent down and gently rested his hand upon the monk Asanga's forehead. You could not see me. Asanga, He said with quiet tenderness, "Because your own expectations veiled your eyes. You searched for a glorious vision. You longed for enlightenment as something extraordinary to attain. Your gaze was fixed upon the mountaintop, while your heart remained closed to the suffering that waited below. Only when you knelt in the mud, only when you forgot your own longing for enlightenment and gave yourself completely to the suffering before you, only when compassion became greater than the self, did your true vision awaken. It was never my presence that was hidden. Asanga. It was your own heart that had not yet learned to see. I did not appear before you today. Today, you finally became able to see me. The story lingers in silence, inviting us to turn our gaze inward. How often do we spend years climbing our own mountains, disciplining ourselves, searching through endless books, or building ever more elaborate spiritual ideas, all in the hope of reaching some distant vision of perfection? We wait for one great breakthrough, one unmistakable sign, or a flawless future where we believe we will finally feel whole, healed, and at peace. Yet the more tightly we cling to our own image of what awakening or peace should look like, the more easily we become discouraged. What begins as a sincere search can quietly turn into exhaustion, emptiness, and the painful feeling that the truth has somehow forgotten us. Perhaps that is what the quiet slopes of Kukutapada have been teaching all along. The wisdom we spend so much of our lives searching for is rarely waiting for us at the summit of solitude, as though it were a prize to be earned. More often, it begins to reveal itself in the ordinary moments we once wished to escape. When we stop turning away from life's uncertainty and find the quiet courage to remain fully present within it. Perhaps the dog covered with worms we spend so much of our lives trying to avoid has never been as distant as we imagine. Perhaps it has been waiting quietly at the crossroads of our ordinary days, appearing not as something monstrous, but as the places we would rather not look. It may be a relationship left broken because returning feels too painful. Or it may be someone whose harsh words and restless anger have hidden. All this time, a heart quietly longing to be seen, understood, and loved. Or perhaps, in the most intimate way of all, that wounded creature has never been outside us. Perhaps it is the hidden part of ourselves we have quietly turned away from, a wound that never fully healed, a fear we have carried in silence, or a quiet burden of regret we have spent years trying to suppress. Yet the more we deny it, the more patiently it waits in the shadows, asking only to be seen. Perhaps no one truly finds their way out of darkness by struggling against it. And no wounded heart is made whole by wisdom alone. More often, healing begins in a far quieter place, in the moment we stop running, turn gently toward our own suffering, and discover that what we feared most was never asking to be conquered, only to be met with compassion. Peace does not arrive because we have managed to escape the world or rise above it. More often, it begins in the quiet moment we are willing to step down from the lonely places where we have hidden ourselves. Kneel upon the ordinary ground of our own lives, and touch even our deepest wounds with a gentle and patient heart. The moment we stop asking life to become perfect before we allow ourselves to love it, something within us begins to soften. The stories fear has whispered for so long gradually lose their hold. And little by little, we begin to see what has been there all along. The search for a flawless peace may be one of the quiet burdens we were never meant to carry. Peace rarely asks life to become simpler before it arrives. More often, it begins when we stop turning away from the life already before us. With all of its beauty, its uncertainty, and its quiet sorrows. When the heart no longer waits for the world to become perfect before it chooses to love, something within us begins to change. Fear loosens its gentle grip. The stories we once mistook for reality grow quieter. And little by little, we begin to recognize that what we have been seeking was never far away. It has been waiting patiently in the ordinary moments of our lives, asking only that we meet them with an open heart.